and welcome back to another Next Music live show, ladies and gentlemen. We have a very special guest today. We have Tatiana Berman, that is right, a massive classical artist here joining us. What is up?
Extremely talented.
Extremely talented.
Hello, hi, hi. So,
Yeah, we're good. We made everything. Sorry for the delay, ladies and gentlemen. We had a little bit of a technical rundown issue today, but we fixed it. So
It only took a few minutes,
only took
too.
a few minutes.
Could have been way worse,
yeah,
and
only a few minutes.
we're good.
I know, we're golden. So what is up, everybody? I am JK, yet back at it again, and with my trusty sidekick, PK.
Mhm.
So just like every other live show, ladies and gentlemen, feel free to ask your questions for our lovely artist in the comment section, and if yours gets picked, you win a reward. So
Rewards are fun.
rewards
Everyone
are
loves
very fun. Everybody likes free stuff. So right off the bat, so Tatiana, how did you become a musician?
Well, my parents both were musicians. My dad played the piano, and I actually have a very cute story about that because I was 4 and I went to a concert that my father played with a violinist, and it was in a large concert hall with beautiful chandeliers and a lot of sparkly stuff. And I don't know if you know this, but the 4-year-olds, especially girls, love everything sparkly and beautiful and shiny and amazing looking, anything to do with fairies and rainbows. And so I thought it was just the most beautiful experience of my life. The violin sounded so amazing. And so I ended up, after that, nagging my parents to get me a violin. And that's how I became a musician. Of course, the couple of years after that was kind of a little bit of a downer because, the first half a year is very, very scratchy. So you can't really just make a sound on the violin straight away. You have to kind of learn how to hold the bow, and it sounds pretty terrible. But I kind of persevered, and by the time I was, I guess, like 10 or 12, I practiced a lot, like 4 to 5 hours a day.
So that's awesome. So what made you want to choose violin to begin with?
Well, that concert actually, because the violinist played so beautifully, and I love the sound of it. I feel like I really connect with the sound of the violin. Although I do I love a lot of different instruments, but the violin is, it sort of turned out to be my thing.
Nice. So to be that good at the violin, you must practice a lot. How many hours a day do you practice violin?
Well, so it's kind of a funny thing because now my life takes me in all different directions. I also produce, and I also am a visual artist, and I concertize occasionally, and I also work with young musicians. And so I don't have time to necessarily practice hours and hours on end. But the good news is that when I was little and up until my through my 20s, I practiced at least 4 to 6 hours a day, and so that sort of stays with you. It's a base. If you do that when you're young, it's much easier to stay in shape when you're older.
Yeah, absolutely, right?
Similar to riding like a very, very complex skill required bike.
Yeah.
Yes, kind of like a violent bike, yes. Well, you kind of need to know, if you learn the skills correctly, that's the main thing. And you have a great teacher, which I was really lucky to have. I have a couple of really fantastic teachers. And if you learn the basis of your instrument and the technique and all the musicianship well and correctly, then it just makes life much easier later on in life.
So every artist has their muse, right? So what personally inspires you as an artist?
Sorry, just a second. I have to get my I have my little dog here, and he's kind of. So personally, what inspires me? I think so many things. I think that everyday situations sometimes inspire me. I also love nature. I'm a very outdoorsy type. I don't have that much time to actually be outdoors, but I love nature, and I notice beauty in everything, like anything from the flowers to sunsets. I obviously I have 3 children, and they inspire me and they teach me so much, and I think that enriches my playing. And when I perform, I want to convey things through my instrument. So the violin is not something that I would play. It's not just like that. I really express myself through the instrument. And I think it's sort of almost like a meditation in some ways. When you practice, you really focus so much on the tiny little things that you have to create, that I love that process of it. And I think I like it more now than even when I was younger.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine like all that. So, you said that we were going to be treated to a special piece, one of your classical tunes.
And we both love music.
And we both love music. We work at a music company.
Yeah, I actually sometimes I dab in composition. I did study it, and this piece I composed with a friend of mine, and it's we took a theme from this guy called Vitali. He lived, I think, 400 years ago. We took a theme from his Japan, and I wrote variations on it. So it's kind of like uh, you are taking the theme and then you kind of expand it and make it sound different, and every variation is different. So you can hear that. I can play that for you.
Yes, please. We would love. We
Yeah,
would love.
if you're ready,
If you're
we
ready.
would greatly enjoy it. And I think
My friend
everyone
Tatiana is going to be accompanying,
Hi, guys.
and she's an amazing pianist. And we violinists cannot exist by ourselves because it would be really boring for everybody else to hear. And we have amazing partners who help us to sound more complete and convey more things uh, by playing as a duo. So Elena is going to be playing with me.
Bravo! Oh my God, that was
That was excellent.
that was beyond. That was phenomenal.
I actually really like classical music, and anytime I hear it, it just makes me happy.
I know. And classical music has that effect. I feel like it really gets deep in there. Like sometimes you don't even know you're listening to something, and you might be thinking about like I don't know, going on a trip somewhere, but actually the music is like working through you and working stuff out inside of your soul, kind of thing. That's what I think about classical music.
Even if I'm in a bad mood, I think one of my favorite songs is the Second Waltz. Really, any variation of it. And it's like a super common, popular classical song. But anytime I hear it, it just makes me happy.
Sometimes things are overplayed, but it doesn't mean that they are bad pieces. It actually means that they're amazing and they're masterpieces, and that's why we know them and love them.
Exactly,
right. So we had a ton of player responses come in, just flooding that amazing performance. They were saying bravo, they loved it, beautiful. And they were sending some player questions right now. We have one from Diamonds 33. He asks, what's your approach to playing contemporary music?
Well, contemporary music is really interesting because I feel like there's so many more dimensions to it in a way, and people nowadays are so much more quirky in a way, and people come from different places and different influences, and I find that I think that every piece that is contemporary, I would take it kind of like on its own basis completely differently. I approach it. I try to see what the composer wants, as always with any piece, and I think that basically it's very individualist. So to answer your question, so my approach is very individualized depending on what kind of piece it is. But in general, I usually try to find out quite a bit about the composer, and if the composer is still alive, I usually have conversations, possibly collaborations with the composer. I was very lucky because I've been commissioning music, and for example, I have two concerti written for me, and that's one of the albums I want to record next year. And it's really fantastic to work with the composer on their work because you really get it directly from them what exactly they wanted with a particular phrase or with a particular what was the meaning behind some of the things that they wrote.
Yeah,
that's really in depth.
That's super in depth. So we just got even more flood of questions. They just keep pouring in. They love you.
Our list of questions.
Well, I love you too. Thank you.
Stacking up.
Thank you.
So we actually have one from Mala Lisa. So aside from the violin, which you are incredible at, are there any other instruments that you can play or want to play?
I play the piano, but I don't practice nowadays. I don't have. That's one of the things, unfortunately, I don't have time for. But I played the piano all throughout my childhood, and I'm still able to play a couple of pieces, the ones that don't require practice. But I love the piano, and I wish I played more. I used to sing and play the piano and compose as well, but I can't do everything. So the Vitali variations. It's actually it's released as a single. You can listen to it on iTunes. It's been recorded. So if you guys like this piece that you just heard, you can actually listen to it on iTunes.
We're gonna have to check that out. Everybody go and listen to it. It's called Vitali Variations. So that was actually
I've actually already saved it to my library. I have a classical playlist that I put it on.
Awesome.
That
was actually my next question was, what was the inspiration behind the Vitali Variations?
So the inspiration was that I actually at the time I was in love. It was kind of fresh, and so I was inspired to write it. That's the short answer to your question. The long answer is that I've kind of been meaning to write things for a while, and then it just sort of came out finally into this piece. It's poured into it, and I also have a few others that they're kind of sitting in my head, and I need to get them out on paper. I just haven't had a chance yet, so I'm looking forward to maybe creating a few more things for my next album.
So yeah, that was actually leading into that.
Yeah,
is what album are you working on now?
Yeah, you mentioned you have one coming up, and we would love to hear more about it. What are you working on, and do you have a specific theme you're going for with it?
Yeah, I am very passionate about bringing music to the new generation of like kids and also young adults. Often in our world right now in America, especially, a lot of people grow up and they don't really experience classical music. And also, there are so many misconceptions, like it's boring, it's stuffy, or like, you know, it's not really for me, or I'm not going to understand it, or I'm a little bit intimidated. But it's really not like that. It's really for everybody, and there are certain pieces that are amazing, others are not as good, just like with any other kind of music. And so I'm very passionate about working with kids and young adults. And one of my programs and one of the brands that I have, it's called Not So Classical. And it's a name where we have classical music pieces which are really short and beautiful. And we interlace it in between that. We have kind of little films, like little 2-minute films, and they talk about different maybe aspects of our life, like relationships or new beginnings or love, anything in between. And then we structure our concerts in this way, and it's called Not So Classical. And so I've been doing that for a couple of years, and people have been asking me, where can we hear that music? And so I am recording an album which features a lot of the pieces in that program, Not So Classical. And so they are beautiful little gems of violin repertoire, which are often overlooked because they're not these massive concerti or sonatas. And so they each last maybe five, like 4 to 8 minutes at the most. And there is a whole album that's going to be coming out featuring those pieces.
Well, that's awesome. Everybody got to keep an eye out for those. Would you happen to have another piece that we could?
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah, this next piece we're going to play, it's I just wanted to tell you a little bit more about it. It's actually a suite that's written. Let me start again. So there is a new movie that's going to be coming out, and I've been lucky enough to be chosen as one of the protagonists. It's a documentary, but it's a really fast pace. It's kind of like more like an action movie. No, I'm just kidding. But it's a documentary, and there are 3 women that are featured in it, and we each one of us, we are kind of like, we work in music, in the music industry, but completely in a very different way. So I kind of talk about how it is like to juggle motherhood and career, and it shows a little bit more about how I actually structure my life. And then the other girl is a young violinist who has a fantastic sort of more traditional career as a young violinist, trying to get concerts with orchestras and traveling around the world. And then the third woman is a fantastic. She's very funny and great, actually. She writes music, and she's a pianist, and she's a little crazy too, like in a good way. She writes beautiful tunes, and she likes things like druids, and is writing an opera about I think little gnomes and things like that. She likes magic. So we are going to play uh, music. It's called a suite. The film is called Forte, so fortefilm.com. And the film has a score that's written actually by Lucia. So Lucia is the pianist composer. So the film, she actually wrote the score for it. And this piece that we're going to be playing is featuring all the tunes from the score from the film.
Nice.
So, story. This. All right.
Yeah, bravo.
Holy crap!
Yes, that was phenomenal.
What's the name of that one?
It's called The Forte Suite by Lucia Caruso.
Okay, I'm looking it up
It's
after this.
not anywhere yet. We are going to be recording it for the new album. It's exclusive. So
Well, that was
I'm
from
excited.
the documentary, correct?
yeah, so Lucia wrote the score, and she's also one of the protagonists in the film. And she wrote the score for the film. And this piece is from. It's basically a collection of different themes from the score.
And And for everybody watching, what is the name and where can they find more info about the documentary?
Yeah, so stay tuned. It's being released in the next couple of months, but it's there is a website. You can see the trailer. It's called fortefilm.com. And you can find out more from there. We do have screenings right now in the next couple of months, and then it will be released.
Awesome. Can't wait. I'm gonna go check it out.
I am as well.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
So we got about 5 minutes left here on the show. I know time flies. Beautiful
Awesome.
pieces like this, right? So we have a couple questions from fans. They're dying to ask you right now. This one's from user Amphora. Does the age of a violin change the sound, or does it make a difference?
Well, generally the old violins are considered really amazing. Some of the violins are like 500 years old, and they cost also like several $1 million, which is pretty cool. But it doesn't mean that my violin is actually modern by violin ages. It's 1944. It was made in 1944, and it does sound fantastic. I love my violin, and it really depends on who made it, how it was made, and how it was maintained and played. Really, a lot of factors affected, and also kind of one of the things people don't think about is if you don't have a good bow, it's not going to produce good sound on the violin. So like a good bow makes a huge difference too. These things are very valuable too. They actually help to bring out the good sound from the instrument.
Well, I never would have thought that the bow was what makes the difference as well.
There's horsehair in the bow, and we put rosin on it to make it sound, because the horsehair by itself is not going to make any sound at all. So it needs a bit of friction to cling onto the string in a way. So that's why there's rosin on there.
See, bows are made out of horsehair and resin. The more you know.
Yeah, well, they are wood and horsehair. Yeah, and little things like mother of pearl and little details like that.
I learn something new every day.
The craftsmanship on that has to be.
Just ask me. I can tell you a lot about this.
So we actually have another question from user Illuminate23. How would you describe your relationship with your violin?
I don't have like I know people who name their cello and they say they're female or male or this kind of stuff. I don't really have that relationship with my violin. I just make sure like we kind of get each other, we understand each other, and we know each other very well. And so that's good enough for me.
Whatever works.
So I heard that you played actually for the Queen of England. How was that, playing for the Queen?
Well, it was a long time ago. People ask me about it, but I mean, I was 16, so like it was a while ago. Yeah, it was cool. I was chosen to play for the Queen. I played Bach double violin concerto with orchestra, and it was great. I think all I can remember is Buckingham Palace is really cool, and I remember meeting the Queen, and we were told not to speak unless spoken to and courtesy. And Prince Charles was there and said that it was marvelous, my performance, and so that's kind of what I remember from that. But at the time, I don't think I kind of like registered what a big deal it was. But it was beautiful.
That's
like
it's a huge accomplishment.
So we got about 2 minutes left here. I know time has flown by. So for everybody that's watching right now, can you tell them where they can check more of your music out, and then again where they can find more info about your documentary that's coming out soon as well?
Yeah, so the documentary is fortefilm.com. You can find out all sorts of information. I also write sometimes blog posts about different issues, and you can find out more information on my website. That's probably the easiest way to go about this, tatianaberman.com. Also, my other stuff is notsoclassical.com, and if you want to know about my album, sign up and you will receive emails when updates will come in. The album probably will not be released until late fall, but I do have a few tracks on iTunes and Google Play and other platforms. So you can check out my music there. And also my website has a couple of videos and things like that there.
Awesome. Well, check it out, TatianaBerman.com, for all of her music stuff.
Well, hopefully I'll see you again, so maybe you'll hear me here again.
Yes, we would love to.
So.
We would love to have
wonderful.
you back. Yes, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
And we
I really enjoyed it. Yeah, thank you.
I like classical
He
music.
likes classical music.
Yes, for you. I love classical music. I still love it, even though it's my job. I love
I
it.
think that's an important thing, though. Like, if you have a job, you should love it.
Right?
Well, I
And
don't.
not work.
That's the thing is, some people, when you start considering something a job and a chore, and that then it becomes really bad. But then I think that people who keep their jobs like inspirations, and I don't really consider it a job, honestly. I just really love it, and I love music, and I feel wonderful conveying things to people through my instruments, and so that's why I think I love it so much.
Right? It's what was it? Do what you like what you do, and you never work a day in your life.
Yes, exactly that.
Right?
Yes.
That's a good saying.
Right? It is a great saying.
Yeah, you know what? It actually applies to everything you do in life. Like even if you're doing dishes, like do them well and then move on. You know, it's like I love like that philosophy. The older I get, the more I kind of like that when you have this approach to things. Like really do things well, and then you feel good about it. So whatever it is that you're doing.
Right? Absolutely. So, with that concludes today's interview, guys. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you, Tatiana, so much for joining us today. You were phenomenal.
And thanks so much for playing. That was wonderful.
Yes, that was quite.
Well, I wanted to make sure you guys, hear something that I do actually, because I can talk about it all day. So, yeah, but thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed it very much. And yeah, feel free to write to me and ask me questions. I am happy to answer.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll keep that in mind. Thank you, everybody. Well, thank you, Tatiana. Thank you, everybody. Again, we have more artists, more independent artists coming on board later today. So be sure to check those out, everyone. And with that, we will see you guys tomorrow with yet another amazing artist interview. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
And thanks, Tatiana.